All right, 23 past the hour. Joining us now, Democratic Senator Al Franken of Minnesota.
Self-proclaimed.
His new book is titled Al Franken, Giant of the Senate.
Well, and look at the picture. It really does.
I like it.
Really captures.
Is that an orb?
Yes, it really does.
A giant.
Very presidential, that orb.
And the burden on a giant.
Well, it's quite a burden these days.
Heavy hangs, the
glow is impressive.
Yeah.
And that is, there's a fire in the glow behind me.
No, it's really impressive. Let's look at it again.
Yes.
All right, so Giant of the Senate.
And it's an oil painting.
It's the Trump orb.
Yeah, almost as good as Trump's self-portrait of him
The
playing
one that
kids.
his,
Except Al's actually
they
kind
bought
of
for
kidding,
charity.
and Trump's not.
So Giant of the Senate.
You're welcome.
Giant
Let
of
me
the
help you
Senate.
out here.
Tell us about the book.
Well, I started writing this book to answer the question that I probably get asked more, the most, which is being a senator as much fun as working on Saturday Night Live? And the answer, of course, is
absolutely not.
No. Why would it be?
Not.
And but it's the best job I've ever had. And
why?
Because you get to achieve things for people. You get to improve people's lives. That's what Paul Wellstone said, that politics is not about winning, it's not about money, it's not about winning for the sake of winning, it's about improving people's lives.
So do you get, is it legislation that gives you the greatest satisfaction? Is it constituent services
Both of those. I mean, sometimes you can do one thing for one person that changes their life or
right.
kid's life or something like that. But then my first piece of legislation I passed 2 weeks after I got to the Senate, Johnny Isakson from Georgia, Republican from Georgia, was my co-sponsor, that paired service dogs with vets from Afghanistan
right.
and Iraq with service dogs, and vets who had invisible wounds like
right.
PTSD, and that was a very satisfying thing.
You know, it surprised me. I went in as an ideologue in 1994. What surprised me is when I left, that of all the things we did, and we fought to balance a budget, there were a lot of things flying over those 7-8 years.
Yep.
That what people came up to me on airplanes going home and thanking me for was the help with the Social Security check, or helping somebody get their form back when the IRS had been out there for 4 years and wouldn't finish.
Constituent service is very important in our office.
Yeah, and it's amazing how that actually is what people remember you for at the end, in many ways.
Yeah, but of course we have huge issues before us, like healthcare.
Oh, sure, of course.
Right
Of course. I'm just saying that sometimes this is overlooked and forgotten.
It is, and I told my team, look, if we get nothing done, we got to have a good, strong constituent service. And my people in Minnesota are wonderful.
When you were elected, obviously as an outsider coming into Washington,
yes.
A lot of people who come to Washington having lived outside there and are used to making decisions and getting things done very quickly are frustrated by the glacial pace of things. And hitting up some phone calls. What was your biggest frustration or your biggest surprise when you came to Washington?
I think my biggest surprise was the lack of debate, of real debate. I had this image of us talking to each other on the floor of the Senate. You know, the couple times we've had the best debate is when they've turned off the TV cameras. And this was, once in a trial of a judge, and once was when we went to the old Senate chamber and talked about, this was when we invoked when we went nuclear, right. And we were trying to beg them to not let us do it, to get a gang of 14, and we didn't. Those were real debate. But what I do, but you work with colleagues more in individual settings, and that's something that's very satisfying. And I write in my book that that's the way things have to work. You have to be able to make alliances and work with people that you didn't think you'd work with.
So is the polarization overstated by us in the press, or is it as bad as it seems?
No, it is as bad as it seems. I mean, on this healthcare bill, the fact that McConnell is going to a group of 13 Republicans behind closed doors. That to me is the very wrong way to do it. And this is a disaster, what came from the House anyway. And I think this needs to be opened in a bipartisan way. And I don't think they're going to get to 50. And he has said that. He doesn't know if they're going to be able to get to 50. And so I hope they start sooner rather than later and do. This is incredibly important.
Why can't we figure out a way to do this in a bipartisan way? I mean, this is...
Well, that's what we're urging. I'm on the health committee.
I know, but this is the third time you had Hillary Clinton's efforts in 93, 94. You had Barack Obama's efforts in 9 and 10.
You know, we did that, though, through... We had hearings. We had much of that bill with Republican amendments.
I understand, but it's 1/6 of the economy. Why can't Republicans and Democrats get together and say, let's figure this out together? What is the problem?
Ask Mitch McConnell.
Well, it's not just Mitch McConnell's fault.
Well, it is right now. I mean,
I'm talking about since '93. I mean, and if you believe it's just the Republicans' fault, you can say that. I'm just curious. It's frustrating. It's 1/6 of the economy. We've got to get the cost curve.
You can't overstate, to me, the importance of health care. When I started running in 2008, I knew that half of all bankruptcies in this country were associated with a health crisis. I had a radio show, and Elizabeth Warren would come on, and Tuwami would come on and tell me that. But boy, you go around Minnesota, and you see, at that time, see cafes, BFWs, all with a notice for a spaghetti dinner for a family that's gone bankrupt.
I know.
It gets very, very...
But
we've had this achievement. Talk to Mitch McConnell about this, because he is saying, well, I don't know if we can get to 50. And what they're talking about, and why this is so awful, we're talking not just about losing 23 million people losing their health care, which is a CBO score, as you know, but we're talking about people with pre-existing conditions losing that protection. We're talking about completely going backward. And we're talking about an $880 billion cut in Medicaid, and matching that with a $900 billion tax cut for the wealthiest Americans. This is just wrong, wrong, wrong. I've gone to rural health meetings in hospitals, in nursing homes, and clinics. People are crying about this because a woman was crying because her mom gets her home health care through Medicaid.
Right.
Okay, and she said she's going to lose that. And my husband and I both work. We don't know what to do with my mom.
It's going to be devastating for a lot of people, but so many people in rural communities that voted for Donald Trump are going to be absolutely devastated. Their health care systems, their hospitals, hospice care, you name it, rehab clinics, all going to be devastated by this.
And this budget. Now, Senator, I have a question for you, because the president is weighing in today on the majority vote rules of the Senate, the elusive majority vote. But I'm curious about the filibuster. Is the filibuster better or worse for the Senate? Should they abolish it once and for all?
No. This is something that it requires us to get to some consensus. And no, and I don't think Mitch McConnell wants to do that either. I don't think there's much taste for that in the Senate at all.
You were at the 92nd Street Y last night?
I was, and David Letterman, for my book, Al Franken Giant of the Senate.
Did he still have that beard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That old man?
That beard is a carbon sink.
Okay, well,
He's very big on climate, and
right.
We were talking about, actually. He said that
it's like a filter for smog in the greater New York City.
It stores a lot of carbon.
Oh, okay.
He said that he's beginning to lose faith in the Trump administration.
Really?
Is he really?
Yeah.
What was the turning point for Dave?
It might be climate. He and I both believe that climate change is an existential threat. And I told him last night, look, I have 3 grandchildren, and I don't want them in 50 years saying, Grandpa, you knew climate change was happening.
Right.
You were a United States Senator. Why didn't you do anything? And also, why are you still alive? Because I'll be 160.
I know. It's like, what's... What's with Grandpa?
Oh, my Lord.
When's he going to leave?
Okay, the new book.
Hold on,
He's
Willie has a
leaving
final
now.
question. No,
All right, quick,
when's
quick.
Grandpa just going to die?
No.
That's what they're going to
They
say.
won't be
Terrible.
saying that. They'll be going, gosh, we love Grandpa. Thank you for all the investments in NIH and the National Institutes of Health.
That's what we say.
Well, I would agree with that. Go ahead, Willie.
Sarah,
Really quick.
the news is so. Are these your grandkids right here?
Oh, they're so cute.
Oh, those are the grandchildren.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
Oh, my
that's
gosh.
Avery. That's
Hi,
Avery.
Adrian. Very cute.
Cutie.
Oh, that's
Very
Jacob.
happy.
Jacob and his brother, Charlie.
Who's Jacob?
That's Joe, my oldest, with Avery. He's torturing Avery there.
Yeah, what they do. Okay, Will.
The news is so heavy and relentless and feels so negative to so many people because of healthcare, what you described because of Russia. Can you give people watching a hopeful note about what's happening in Washington right now?
No.
Yep.
Well,
A new book is out. Senator Al Franken, thank you so much.
Thank you for your
And
honesty.
this morning's Senate Book Club continues. And we're going to bring in Senator Mike Lee and former Senator Tom Coburn, both with their new books. Also ahead, a master class in public relations at the State Department yesterday. We'll play for you one longtime official's very difficult day at the press podium when we return.